Success is not something you chase, it is something you attract by the person you become. And the foundation of that transformation is self-discipline. Discipline is the foundation of success, because without it, every dream collapses under the weight of inconsistency. You can have vision, you can have passion, and you can have talent, but without discipline, none of them will last long enough to produce real results. Discipline is the silent force that makes greatness possible. It's the structure that holds goals together when motivation fades away. Motivation may excite you, but discipline sustains you. It is the difference between wishing for success and actually creating it. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about commitment. It's about showing up when you don't feel like it, doing the work when distractions call your name, and staying the course even when progress feels invisible. Most people wait to feel motivated before they act, but successful people act first and let motivation follow. The athlete does not run because he feels like running every day. He runs because he made a commitment to his training. The student does not study because every page is exciting. She studies because discipline tells her this effort will lead to knowledge and opportunity. In every field, discipline is the factor that separates those who quit from those who win. Every small choice of discipline builds character. When you decide to wake up early instead of oversleeping, when you choose to save money instead of wasting it, when you say yes to effort and no to excuses, you strengthen the muscle of self-control. These small victories create momentum, and momentum is what turns ordinary individuals into extraordinary achievers. Success is not one big event. It is a series of small disciplined actions repeated until they become habits. And habits, once formed, shape destiny. The beauty of discipline is that it multiplies. One area of discipline spills into another. A person who learns to discipline their time begins to value productivity. A person who disciplines their diet and health feels stronger and more energetic, which leads to better focus in their career. Slowly, discipline creates order in life, and order gives birth to confidence. Confidence, in turn, allows one to take on bigger challenges. This chain reaction begins with a single decision to live with discipline. Without discipline, talent is wasted. The world is filled with talented people who never achieved greatness because they lacked the self-control to focus their energy. On the other hand, countless ordinary people have risen to extraordinary heights simply because they had the discipline to stay consistent. The difference is not in the gift, but in the grind. Discipline turns effort into progress, and progress into achievement. Time is the most valuable resource we have, yet without discipline, time slips through our fingers. Success belongs to those who use discipline to master their time. Every wasted hour is an opportunity lost forever, but every disciplined hour invested builds a future that compounds like interest. A disciplined life is not a restricted life. It is a purposeful life. Freedom is not the absence of discipline, but the reward of it. When you discipline your actions, you gain control of your outcomes. Ultimately, discipline is self-respect. It is honoring your commitments to yourself, even when nobody is watching. It is keeping promises to your future, knowing that the discomfort of discipline today will create the comfort of success tomorrow. People often search for secrets of success, but the truth is simple discipline is the foundation. It is the steady hand that guides dreams into reality, the quiet strength that keeps goals alive, and the bridge that takes you from where you are to where you want to be. Consistency beats talent, because talent alone is never enough. The world is full of talented individuals who never fulfilled their potential, not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked consistency. Talent is a gift, but consistency is a choice. It is the discipline of showing up every day, putting in the work, and refusing to quit, even when progress feels slow or invisible. The truth is, Success does not always go to the most talented person. It goes to the one who refuses to stop. Think about a person with average skills who practices daily will outperform the naturally gifted person who only works when they feel like it. Talent might set the stage, but consistency writes the script. Talent might open a door, but consistency is what keeps that door open. Consistency compounds over time, and that compounding effect is what creates greatness. Just as drops of water carve through stone, small consistent actions, repeated over days, weeks, and years, carve the path to extraordinary achievement. Consistency is not glamorous. It is not exciting in the moment. It often feels repetitive, routine, even boring. But behind every success story you admire, there are countless unseen hours of consistent effort. The athlete running drills long after the stadium lights are off. The musician practicing scales until their fingers ache. The writer sitting with a blank page day after day until the words finally flow. Talent may give them a head start, but consistency carries them across the finish line. Consistency also builds trust. Trust with yourself and trust with others. When you are consistent, you prove that your word means something. You prove that you can be relied upon. That reliability builds confidence, and confidence fuels momentum. Momentum is the secret force behind lasting success. Once you build momentum through consistency, you become unstoppable, because progress becomes a habit rather than a struggle. The challenge most people face is not that they lack talent, but that they quit too soon. They expect quick results, and when they don't see them, they stop. But consistency is about faith. The faith to keep going when results are not visible. Trusting that your effort is accumulating in silence. The bamboo tree does not sprout immediately. For years, it grows underground where no one can see it, and only later does it shoot up rapidly. Success works the same way years of consistent effort suddenly bring results that look like overnight success. What consistency does is create mastery. Talent may allow you to be good, but only consistency makes you great. Mastery requires repetition, refinement, and patience. It requires you to show up on the days you don't feel inspired, to practice when no one is watching, to keep going when you are tired of the process. Consistency is the price you pay for mastery, and mastery is the reward that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary performers. Consistency also outlives motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes. But consistency is the anchor that keeps you steady through distractions, temptations, and challenges. You don't need to feel motivated every day, but you do need to show up every day. That commitment builds resilience, and resilience is the real measure of strength. So in the end, talent may impress people for a while, but consistency earns respect forever. Talent may shine in the short term, but consistency builds legacies that endure. Success is not about how gifted you are. It is about how committed you are. It is not about how fast you can rise. It is about how long you can last. And the truth is clear, consistency beats talent every single time. Control over feelings is one of the greatest powers a human being can develop. Most people live as prisoners of their emotions. They get angry and say things they later regret. They feel discouraged and give up on their dreams. They feel fear and never take the step forward that could have changed their life. Feelings are powerful, but they are not always truthful. They can mislead us, distract us, and keep us from becoming who we are meant to be. Success and growth belong not to the one who feels the strongest emotions, but to the one who learns to control them. Life will always present challenges. There will be days when frustration overwhelms you, when disappointment crushes you, when doubt whispers that you are not good enough. In those moments, your feelings will try to dictate your decisions. But if you live by feelings, you will live inconsistently. Feelings change with the weather. They shift with circumstances. They rise and fall with moods. Discipline and wisdom require that you learn to act based on principles, not feelings. Think of the student who does not feel like studying, but chooses to study anyway, because the goal of education is greater than the feeling of laziness. Think of the athlete who does not feel like training on a cold morning, but trains anyway, because discipline outweighs temporary discomfort. These examples remind us that success is not about how you feel in the moment, but about the choices you make despite how you feel. When you control your feelings, you create space between emotion and reaction. Anger, for example, is a natural emotion, but reacting in anger can destroy relationships, careers, and opportunities. By pausing, breathing, and choosing a response instead of exploding with reaction, you prove that you are the master of your emotions, not their servant. Similarly, fear is natural, but courage is born when you act in spite of fear. The greatest victories in history were not won by people who felt no fear, but by people who controlled their fear and moved forward anyway. Control over feelings also means recognizing that emotions are temporary. Sadness, frustration, doubt. None of them last forever unless you feed them. Just as clouds pass over the sky, emotions pass through the mind. The problem begins when we build a house under the cloud instead of waiting for the sun to shine again. Emotional control gives you the wisdom to wait, to endure, and to keep perspective. Another truth is that your feelings often follow your actions. Many people wait to feel motivated before they begin. But motivation usually comes after you start, not before. The moment you act with discipline, your emotions begin to align. By controlling your actions first, you slowly gain control over your feelings. This is why consistent habits are so powerful. They reshape the emotional patterns that once held you back. Control over feelings is also the foundation of strong relationships. How many friendships and marriages are broken because someone could not control their temper? How many opportunities are lost because someone could not control their pride? A person who controls their feelings has the power to lead, to influence, and to inspire trust. Emotional strength is leadership strength because people follow those who remain steady when storms arise. Ultimately, the goal is not to suppress your feelings, but to guide them. Emotions are valuable messengers. They can alert you to danger, remind you of love, or inspire you with passion. But they were never meant to be the driver of your life. They are passengers. You are the one holding the wheel. When you learn to control your feelings, you take control of your destiny, because your choices are no longer at the mercy of temporary moods. That is the secret to lasting success. Resilience and peace habits shape the future, because what we repeatedly do creates the life we end up living. Every choice, every action, repeated often enough, turns into a habit, and those habits become the blueprint of destiny. People often think the future is built by one big breakthrough or a single life-changing event, but the truth is that the future is formed in the quiet, ordinary routines of daily life. The small actions you repeat day after day, often without even noticing, determine the kind of person you become and the kind of future you experience. If you want to know what your future will look like, you don't need to consult the stars or read predictions. Just look at your habits. Someone who eats unhealthy food every day is shaping a future of poor health. Someone who saves a little money consistently is shaping a future of financial security. Someone who invests time in learning each day is shaping a future of knowledge and opportunity. The habits you practice are the seeds you are planting, and one day, those seeds will grow into a harvest, whether good or bad. Habits have a power stronger than willpower, because once something becomes a habit, it no longer requires much thought. It becomes automatic. This is why habits can either work for you or against you. Good habits build momentum, and momentum creates progress almost effortlessly. Bad habits, on the other hand, pull you backward, even when you don't intend to move in that direction. Your daily routines are either preparing you for success or silently sabotaging your potential. The amazing thing is that habits don't demand massive changes overnight. They begin small. Reading 10 minutes a day builds the habit of learning. Exercising a little every morning builds the habit of health. Waking up early builds the habit of discipline. These may seem insignificant in the short term, but when compounded over months and years, they completely reshape the trajectory of life. A small positive habit, practiced consistently, can take you further than bursts of energy followed by long periods of inactivity. Think of habits as investments. Each good habit is like depositing into a bank account that grows with time. Each bad habit is like withdrawing, weakening your future resources. The person who consistently deposits even a little becomes wealthy over time, while the one who keeps withdrawing eventually goes broke. The future does not surprise us. It rewards or punishes us based on the habits we built yesterday. Habits also form identity. When you practice a habit long enough, it becomes part of who you are. If you write daily, you become a writer. If you train daily, you become an athlete. If you help others daily, you become a servant leader. Your habits tell the story of your life long before your achievements do. Change your habits, and you change your identity. Change your identity, and you change your destiny. The challenge is that forming habits requires patience. In the beginning, habits are fragile. They feel uncomfortable. They resist. They test your discipline. But once established, they become strong, and they guide you automatically. The key is to stay consistent until the habit carries you without effort. This is why successful people protect their habits so fiercely. They know their habits will decide their future more than any circumstance or event ever could. So the truth is simple yet profound. You do not decide your future directly. You decide your habits, and your habits decide your future. Every day you are either building or breaking the path ahead. The future is not created in one grand moment. It is created quietly, invisibly, in the repeated habits of today. Discipline creates freedom because it gives you control over your life instead of letting life control you. At first, the idea may sound contradictory. People often think discipline means restriction, rules, and limitation. But the reality is the opposite. Discipline is not about taking freedom away. It is about building the structure that allows true freedom to exist. A person without discipline is a slave to impulse, emotions, and distractions. A person with discipline is free to pursue goals, free to enjoy success, and free to live a life of purpose. Think about time. Without discipline, hours disappear in distractions, scrolling, gossip, wasting energy on things that don't matter. The result is stress, pressure, and the feeling that life is out of control. But when you discipline your time, you create freedom. You finish your work early, you reach your goals, and you earn extra hours to spend however you want. Freedom is not in doing whatever comes to mind in the moment. Freedom is in creating the order that gives you choices later. Discipline with money works the same way. Someone who spends impulsively, chasing every desire, feels free in the moment, but soon becomes trapped in debt and financial worry. On the other hand, the person who disciplines themselves to save, invest, and spend wisely may feel limited at first, but later they experience the freedom of security, the freedom of opportunity, and the freedom to live without fear of bills or emergencies. Short-term discipline creates long-term freedom. Health is another example. Eating anything, skipping exercise, staying up late. These feel like freedoms at first, but the cost is poor health, low energy, and physical limitations. Real freedom is in having the energy to run with your children, to travel without exhaustion, to enjoy life without sickness holding you back. That kind of freedom only comes from the discipline of healthy habits practiced daily. Discipline also creates freedom in the mind. A person who reacts to every emotion, every criticism, every temptation is not free. They are controlled by outside circumstances. But someone who disciplines their thoughts, who trains themselves to stay calm, to stay focused, to choose responses wisely, is free. They are not shaken by every challenge or distracted by every temptation. They live from principle, not impulse. That is true freedom. The paradox of life is that those who avoid discipline in the present suffer restrictions in the future, while those who embrace discipline in the present enjoy freedom later. The student who disciplines themselves to study now earns the freedom of choice in career later. The worker who disciplines themselves to learn new skills earns the freedom of opportunity. The entrepreneur who disciplines themselves to plan and sacrifice early earns the freedom to live life on their terms. Discipline always looks like sacrifice in the short term, but it always produces freedom in the long term. What makes discipline powerful is that it shifts control from outside to inside. Instead of being a victim of circumstances, you become the master of your life. Instead of waiting for luck or opportunity, you prepare and position yourself. Instead of being chained by habits that limit you, you create habits that empower you. Freedom is not an accident, it is built. And the bricks that build it are called discipline. In the end, freedom without discipline is chaos. Real freedom is not the absence of boundaries. It is the result of self-control. The moment you master yourself, you are no longer a prisoner of impulses, fears, or distractions. You are free to rise higher, to achieve greater, and to live with purpose. Discipline is the price, and freedom is the reward. Success is self-mastery, because the greatest victory you will ever win is the victory over yourself. People often think success is about conquering the world, defeating competitors, or reaching the top of their field. But the truth is simpler and deeper. Before you can master anything outside, you must master what is inside. If you cannot control your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, and your actions, then no amount of external achievement will last. Self-mastery is the foundation upon which every form of success is built. Life constantly tests us. There will be challenges that provoke anger, failures that create doubt, temptations that promise comfort, and distractions that pull us away from what truly matters. Without self-mastery, you become a victim of these forces, tossed around by emotions and circumstances. But with self-mastery, you become the captain of your ship. You decide your response instead of reacting blindly. You stay calm in storms, focused in noise, and steady in uncertainty. That inner control becomes the silent strength that allows you to move forward while others give up. Self-mastery begins with